What is going on, guys? It is Trifecta J here with the Season 1 off-season for my Jets franchise. Of course, in the first video of the series, we did simulate through Season 1, and now you can see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in Dirk Cutter's first year. Jameis Winston played pretty well, did throw 2 interceptions. Now looking at the retirements, David Harris and Brandon Marshall have retired, so that's 2 huge losses. Brandon Marshall probably would have been our #1 receiver, along with David Harris being our linebacker along with Darren Lee. So now into re-signing players, you can see looking at a lot of these guys, not a lot of them I really wanted to bring back. The first person was Brian Winters. We offered and he would test free agency. Kyrie Robinson, did not really feel like bringing him back either. Bruce Carter was a guy I definitely considered, but I thought I could get him in free agency as we do offer him a contract and he does not accept. Now looking at the bottom of the list, Eric Tomlinson. We offer him a contract, not a very big deal. He's someone who isn't the highest overall, but does have some nice skills. Anthony Thomas, a non-guaranteed deal for 1 year, and he would accept a 64 overall. Then Donald Hawkins, not a guy I wanted to bring back. Very poor stats overall. Dexter McDougal, he was the guy who wanted about $1.8 million. We offered that to him, and he did not like that offer. Then Craig Watts, who could be a backup guard for us, he would accept. Then Ronald Martin, a free safety, not the fastest guy, not greatest zone coverage, but he is a good backup caliber player. Now looking at Geno Smith, he is coming off a ACL tear and wanted about $15 million over 3 years, and we would not even offer him a contract. Looking at some of the retirements, Cameron Wake, a big one for the Dolphins, and you'll see in a second the Patriots add an absolutely huge one. Tom Brady has retired, so we no longer have to deal with him. So they will have Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett to take over for him. Now looking at some of the free agents, not the strongest class, especially in the quarterback department. You're really not ever going to see very many good quarterbacks get to free agency just because they're such a valuable asset. Looking at some of the regressions from some of our older players, you can see some big ones towards the top of the roster. Ryan Clady gets a good bit worse, as he'll probably be our starting left tackle unless we can find someone. Now looking at some of the guys we offered contracts to, none of them for big money or really a big role on our team. Just guys who could be depth and maybe improve. None of them very old. A lot of them were highly projected out of college and just have not been able to get it together as they've gone through the first couple years of their careers. We would simulate through the first week and did get a couple of accepted offers from Brian Poole, the second year undrafted player. Is the nickel right now for the Atlanta Falcons in real life, along with Stephen Weatherly. Looking at some of the now scouting, as there were a lot of corners, none of them very good for the most part. Definitely a position that I wanted to target. We have a lot of holes in our secondary. Actually, at safety, we're all right. Definitely need some improvement there, but a cornerback need a ton of improvement. Now, a late round guy with B zone coverage, middle 7th. He has B plus zone coverage, C plus press, and C man. So definitely a zone cover corner. Rashad Corner, a corner named Corner. Something pretty cool. Also 6'1" and 22 years old, but not the greatest ratings. A 7th round in terms of true talent. Then Griffin Riley, B minus zone coverage. Just not really something that was really sticking out to me unless he has a good second rating, which he did in a man coverage of B. Then Devrin Babineau has B plus zone coverage, but then C minus press, and his man could only be worse from there. Gabe Harkey, C plus zone. So there's a lot of very disappointing guys in the cornerback department. Lamar Bedell, C plus press, and that's his top rating. So another guy who just will not be a player for us. Then Marquise Keel, not awful, B minus man, C plus zone, but just not very good. And then C press, a undrafted talent type player, which is very disappointing to see from him. Also did not have the greatest 40 time. You can see still the same contract offers to Taylor Gabriel, Steven Terrell, Pierre Desir, and Corey Lemonier. So you can see some of the draft stories. Jimmy Henson, a center, is starting to fall down draft boards. Harmon Calvin had a big-time performance at the Combine or All-Star game. As you can see, 3 more players have accepted as Pierre Desir, Taylor Gabriel. Only guy left with a contract offer on our team or board right now is Corey Lemonier. I really like the idea of Taylor Gabriel. He could be a nice slot receiver, fit alongside Quincy Inanua. I'm not completely sure how to say that. And also Eric Decker. Now another small, speedy guy, Joel Spadell. He runs a 4.33 and has some great catching ratings. Now a 4.27 receiver, but he just cannot catch the ball. So that's a little disappointing. I was excited to look at him, and then the ratings just did not match up with his combine grade. So now Patrick Swope, a pretty good 2 ratings and then a C spectacular catch, so it only goes down from there. And you can see Corey Lemonier did accept the contract, so everyone we offered a contract to would accept our offer, which is great to see. Definitely got some pass rushers and some secondary help along with a playmaker on offense. Now Llewellyn, bad news, I guess is how you would say that. Might have to draft him just for the name. Deshaun Chancellor, free safety, can hit but can't do much else. Also not the greatest athlete at free safety. Sheldon Germany, he could be a nice middle round halfback prospect. Runs a 4.4 with some nice ratings as well. More of an elusive type guy. So before we get into the draft, we would offer the Ravens a trade. Sheldon Richardson and their first round pick next year and a 6th round pick this year. I feel like that's a good trade for us, as we'll be moving to a 4-3 or at least a hybrid scheme, and you only have 2 spots on the ends or defensive tackle depending on the scheme you're playing. And we already have Leonard Williams and Muhammad Wilkerson. So Wilkerson did get a new contract just this year, and we would have to re-sign Sheldon Richardson if we wanted to keep him, and that's a lot of money to commit to obviously the 3rd guy, or maybe the best out of all of them. Probably not better than Leonard Williams in the long term. But now looking into the draft, we have the 4th overall pick, looking at Angel Weber and Kenyon Hayward. Now looking at some trade down offers, the Falcons offered a 1st round pick, a 2nd round pick, and a 6th round pick. And so you can see, I believe with the 7th pick, yeah, Angel Weber was maybe the top guy on my board now, as the 2 top corners went with the first 2 of the first 3 picks. So that was disappointing to see. So now we can trade back and get the guy that I was very excited about, Kendall Hayward, number 2 in true talent, superstar potential, a great athlete, and great make you miss potential. Probably need a power back to complement him. And Kendall Hayward can also catch the ball very well. He's definitely a 3 down back, which is great to see. Moving forward, you can see some of the other players going off the board. Not really many that I was targeting. As we get to our 2nd pick, and the top guy on my watch board is the guy that I really wanted to get. He might have been one of the top players on my board overall, Matthew John, a strong safety. He's a good athlete, can cover very well, can hit a little bit. Not sure if his long-term position is at free or strong safety. Can probably play a little bit of both. Moving forward, you can see the Panthers take an outside linebacker. Jaguars go with a corner. Steelers another corner, so a couple of the corners going off the board. We get to our next pick, and Harmon Calvin is on the board, but he's not projected to be one of the next couple of picks, but also is the top tight end on the board. So we would decide to trade down. We pick up the 49ers 2nd round pick next year, and we trade away out of the draft in the 2nd round, but we still have the 4th pick in the 3rd round. And getting towards the bottom here, I was worried about Calvin getting picked, and he is the top player left on the board, just like Matthew John. So once again, we get lucky, and he turns out to be a very talented player. Good speed, good size, can catch, and also can block pretty well, which I was surprised to see. And it's a very pleasant surprise, so he could be a tight end and be a number 1 tight end, along with Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who really cannot block at all. Now with our 4th round pick, looking at a variety of different players, no one really stuck out to me except for Joel Spidell. He is a 6th round prospect, but we would reach for him, and it looks like it was a good idea. 5'8", 22, great speed, and could be a slot receiver moving forward. We targeted Taylor Gabriel in free agency, but Spidell could be fill that role moving forward, especially as a kick returner as well. Then we draft James McCann in the 5th round. In the 6th round, we get Eric DeMarco. He's a good run blocker and impact blocker, but does struggle as a pass blocker. He's strong, and we would get him a 71 overall. 21 years old, though, so he definitely has a lot of room to develop. Malcolm McPhee, the only real corner late in the draft that had any interest to me, as he is great zone coverage, not great press, and not great man. And then with our 7th round pick, there was no one left on the board that I was really targeting, so we end up getting a 4th round pick for next year's draft from the Rams. A great trade in my opinion. Get great value out of that pick, as this wasn't the strongest draft class. You can see our entire board of people we picked. Deshaun Halou, who went number 1 overall, superstar potential, 6'3", great coverage ratings, and a great athlete. Then Rashawn Lett, who's one of my favorite players, 6'4", great speed, only 23 years old, not the greatest coverage ratings. Then the number 3 pick, you have Christian Spellman. He actually went number 2 overall, superstar potential, 89 throw power, so not the biggest arm. Looking at the Bills draft, a couple of nice players, and Stanley John. And their 7th round pick was looking pretty good, as Stanley John could be a nice player. Diamond Gamble along with Matthew John. Gamble actually rated a little higher on my board as a strong safety, as he turns out to be a very solid player. He's definitely a strong safety as he can lay the wood, but also cover a little bit. Then looking at the Patriots, no standout guys. They do get a pretty good center. Rashad Rawls, another guy that I was targeting. 88 speed, great tackling, great hit power, and great block shedding, but can't do much in terms of coverage. Angel Weber is a great pass blocker and pretty good impact blocker. He would have been a good pick. You can actually see the Browns ended up going with 2 quarterbacks in the first round. Philip Reichart might be a little bit better than Christian Spellman, but I guess they decided it's worth taking the risk on 2 quarterbacks, and if they both work out, they could trade one. They've not had a good quarterback in the longest time, so that guy's jersey does get a little bit longer, as he will probably have to add 2 names to it. Jocelyn McWilliams, maybe the most talented player in the entire draft. Now into the preseason, adding some players. DeMarcus Ware did go unsigned, so we add him to be our right end. A nice veteran pass rusher. Only a 1-year deal, so we shouldn't be around for too long. Probably 1 year, might even retire after this year. You can see all of the players that we did sign and release to fill out the rest of the roster, as Sean Weatherspoon and Bruce Carter get signed along with Matt Castle. So you can see some of the undrafted players that I really like. Chris Santiago, he is a 3-4 pass rusher, but will be playing left outside linebacker in the 3-4 for us. He can cover a little bit. Victor Jimenez has a big time arm, but does struggle with his accuracy, and not the most athletic guy, but only 21 years old. Wyatt Pete, he will be starting at fullback for this season, 24 years old, a good athlete and can block pretty well. Gabriel Dell, he is strong and also a good athlete, could be a nice inside pass rusher, 22 years old, out of East Carolina actually, my bad. And then Oscar Brackenridge, one of the underrated guys that I signed that I was a big fan of. He can tackle, hit, good speed, can cover a little bit as well. Rashawn Street, he has some nice speed and coverage ratings and can also hit, so a good hybrid safety out of Oklahoma. And then I hope you did enjoy the offseason. One more rookie to look at. If you did, please leave a like down below. Leave your comments on our signings and draft, because I will see you for the preseason in the next episode.